Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and I am so excited to do this one because it is part of my secret changes series where we go over all of the nitty-gritty details and the updates, not the obvious things, but this time, of course, we are doing it with the brand new Season 6 update. So that's right guys, we're not going to be going over the obvious things that you guys know, like the new castle location on the map, the new corrupted zones, and the stones that you can get or could get. They disabled them today, but yeah, we're going to be going through some of the secret details that can be helpful to you, like a change to the double barrel shotgun, secret changes in locations on the map, and not even about the bunker, other stuff. And one of these places you guys definitely need to see, but stuff like that and just a bunch of other fun things. So yeah, if you do enjoy this video or are just hyped for Season 6, be sure to hit that like button down below. Always helps me out so much and encourages me to make more videos. And on top of that, be sure to comment your favorite part of Season 6 again. For me, I'm kind of loving the Halloween theme that they've got going on with a bunch of the things, and we'll be going over some of that stuff in the video today. But yeah guys, without further ado, let's jump on into it with this first one, and we will go into game a tiny bit to showcase it off, but it has to do with Retail Row. And some of you probably know that the location itself is here, but you may not know that there's some sort of secret things with it that are pretty interesting. So either way, it's kind of starting off with a little one, but it's still so cool that if you don't know about it, you really need to know about it. But yeah guys, actually for this first one, I just want to go into game to show it to you because it is a fun one that you kind of just, explore, and it is this area right over here. It's this brand new secret little area, or not super secret, but if you haven't seen it or been inside of it, there's some really cool and unique things. And just look at the top here, you got the inflatable battle bus on the very top of it, which just looks so good. I honestly love this thing so much. And by the way, is that a special chest I hear up in this? That's right. So there you go, secret chest. But that's not what we wanted to take a look at. Instead, we want to go inside of it because it is the Halloween shop, which is pretty funny because you always see these in real life when they show up at shopping centers and stuff like that. But you got candy out in front. It looks super dope. Still hoping for trick-or-treating. But then if you go in front of these, and you have to have your graphics settings on epic. I just figured that out. So yeah, make sure you do that if you're on PC. But if you go in front of these, they've got this special effect around them, and this one makes a little bit of a creepy sound, like something menacing, making a sound, if you know what I mean. But it is pretty funny that the inflatables do stuff like that, and I wonder if the one on the bus did something. But yeah, if you go over to this one, it makes a witch sound, and this one glows as well when you get in front of it. So let's go over to, yeah, there's one back here as well, so you'll be able to listen to this one. Do you hear that? That creepy little laugh? So yeah, this area is really super cool. It's got a chest right there as well that can spawn. You've got, candy. Who doesn't love candy? Spiders, cobwebs. And also if you go outside, you got the outdoors. Let's go back inside. But moving on to another one here that is more of a change that you definitely need to know about if you're on console. And it's not a super crazy change, but it's still one that I think you guys should know about just to be aware of. And that is that there is now on console input-based matchmaking. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, if you've ever run into a player that looks like he's not using a controller and is more of a PC player on keyboard and mouse, that will no longer happen on consoles because people that use keyboard and mouse on console are now going to be forced to be put into lobbies with other PC players. That's right guys, so a pretty interesting change on console, and I don't know if a ton of people do that, but there's enough to make it a little bit of an issue that you've probably run into it before, so it is definitely interesting. Now on top of that, they didn't change it where controller on PC puts you in Xbox or PS4 lobbies, stuff like that, and they did specifically say that they didn't change that, and personally I'm hoping they keep that the same, just because for me, I know I like the challenge of controller on PC. It's a lot of fun. But either way, guys, that is definitely an interesting thing to note. But then keeping it going here with a pretty huge change, or at least a little bit, I guess. We'll talk about what I mean by that. But yes, it has to do with the double barrel shotgun, and there has been a change to it, which actually is a pretty big nerf. So by far, the double barrel shotgun has been one of the best weapons in the game. I definitely know I pick it up all the time in solos, because if you get in close with somebody, there's really no contesting that thing. It just absolutely puts out a ton of damage. And honestly, it was pretty deserving of a nerf, but even with this nerf, it's still pretty effective, I'd say. And specifically, what they changed with it, the damage it used to do was 143, 150. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is there with it. Probably a little bit of distance maybe, but that has been reduced to 114 and 120. So overall, guys, not actually something that I think you'll really notice. As long as you're in close with people, and I've experienced this already, it doesn't feel really that that different. I guess it could feel different if you missed some of the pellets, but since the total damage is still over 100 and was mainly a 2-shot elimination if you got in close with somebody, you simply just may have to, you know, make sure you're a tiny bit more accurate, but it still should be pretty effective at like that super close range that most people use it anyways. And still, if that person only has like 50 shield, it's not going to matter. But either way, still something to keep in mind. Keeping it going here with more interesting changes. This one is pretty big, but it has to do with safe zones and how they are changed with pretty much every single safe zone, or more specifically the storm. I don't know why they call it safe zone really in the patch notes. I guess that's the specific name for it, but it's more like the storm circles and how they move, when they move, and stuff like that. So for this one, I could go through the absolute nitty-gritty of every single timing change, but that would take a lot of time. So we're gonna just, you know, paraphrase a little bit. But they changed a bunch of the circles all the way from zone 4 to 9. All got tweaked a little bit. What they did with the storms mainly is that the wait time has been reduced for like the in between the storms moving, and then when it does shrink, that time itself has been increased a little bit. So like for example, with safe zone 4, the 4th circle of the game, I believe, for this one the wait time has been reduced from 90 seconds to 80 seconds, so it just starts shrinking a little bit sooner, but it still takes the same amount of time because the shrink time for it to go from the previous circle to the next circle was increased from 60 seconds to 70 seconds. So they added that 10 seconds that they took away from the wait time over to the shrinking time to change it up a little bit. So that is interesting. Overall, the time itself hasn't changed, but just how it's used by the circles. So we are going to have to see just how exactly that affects gameplay, if that really affects how people move in the circles, and that's generally how they changed every single other circle in the game. If they took away, like, say, 30 seconds from the wait time, they added it to the shrink time, stuff like that. But still, you'll probably notice it a little bit when you play some more games today. Alright, jumped out of the bus a little bit late, but that's okay. Right now we're in Playgrounds because I did want to show you this change in-game, because it's one of those changes that you can see in-game, and you really do need to see it. And my goodness, this llama skin is honestly one of my favorites. And look at that, there's a llama right over there. So yeah, this change actually has to do with a grappler, so hopefully we can find one in Flush Factory. I did not mean to go to Flush Factory, but yeah, real quick, let's find a grappler. Come on. Oh my gosh. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. There is grapplers in Playgrounds still. That's insane. I've been looking for like 15 minutes and haven't been able to find one. But yes, there's a couple of changes with the grappler I wanted to show you. And the first of which is pretty obvious, and you may have noticed it yourself, but the amount of times you can use the grappler when you pick up a new one, it was reduced from 15 down to 10, which isn't like a humongous change, but you will notice it after time. But yeah, that's not the main change I wanted to talk about. The other one is that apparently you carry your momentum when you grapple onto something moving, and it said you could grapple onto other players. You like gain their momentum with your grapple. It's kind of crazy. So I figured we would try to get this to work ourselves. Okay. Don't worry, I got a way of doing this, and it has to do with bouncers. So if we put a bouncer like right about there, is it that far? Yeah, I think it's about that far. So if we then get into the ATK and bounce it back and forth, it should keep going. And let's see if this is in fact true with the grappler. Okay, so yeah, you do go a little bit faster. I don't know if it's like crazy noticeable, and this thing is... Whoops. Like, I guess that's pretty noticeable, because like, what if I just did it from right here? Yeah, I only land like this far if I'm doing it on a wall. So yeah, there you go. Made it all the way over here. So that is indeed true. Pretty interesting stuff. But moving on here to a change that definitely is pretty big, and one of the most interesting changes of this update. And I know you guys have seen like a ton of the locations on the map that changed. Obviously, there's a floating island, but there are some secret changes to the map that are a little bit more secret. And one of those things that changed is the evil villains lair, or their like base where they fired the rocket from. That place has changed a ton, and it's really quite interesting how exactly it has changed. So like, if you go over there, you'll notice that first of all, it's a lot more broken down. In fact, it's like super run down. There's holes in the side of it, there's holes in the windows, there's holes in the floor. Just everything is super broken, which is odd because right before this update, it has been practically the same for the entirety of Season 5. But that's not the only thing that's interesting about it. Once you start to go inside it and explore a little bit more, you start to notice some weird things. Like, just looking here, there's chests hanging on the walls, which we've never seen a chest that's not on the ground, but they're being hung up by cobwebs, and not just any cobwebs, like giant cobwebs, which does start to make me think that something is here that may or may not be giant spiders, which is pretty crazy. But I mean, just to look around here a little more, there are these giant cobwebs all over the place, and they're pretty much covering up a significant portion of this area. But yeah, guys, be sure to check that place out, and maybe we'll have to come up with some theories about what exactly all of this stuff means and why it suddenly changed with season 6. And then after that, guys, we have one of the biggest changes ever to come to Fortnite. I don't think you guys are prepared for this one. I don't know, guys, this may really affect the way that you play the game. They reduced the dual pistol floor loot drop chance from 1.49% to 0.88%. I'm just kidding. That is not a big change, but I still put it in there just because it is kind of a funny change. I think it's interesting that this is one of the only floor loot drop chance thing that they changed this patch, besides like the ones that they vaulted. But it's such a tiny change. They only reduced it from, again, 1.49% to 0.88%. That is such a pretty small change that I just had to put in this video. And then after that, we have another change that I definitely want to go over, and that is with controller players. We finally have custom bindings for controllers. Now, if you don't know what custom bindings are, it's basically the same thing that PC has, where they can remap where they want their buttons to, you know, do certain things in the game. So for controller, you can now remap where you want different buttons. Like if you want to fire your gun with the B button, you can do that, or circle button on PS4, I believe. But by far, it is an awesome change. So if you want to mess around with that, you simply go into your settings, go over to the controller thing, and then you can rework the bindings a little bit. Make sure you select custom, and then you can go into which section you want to do what, and just mess around with it and possibly find some new things that work really well for you. But yeah, guys, that is going to be the final thing of this video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this coming out on the new season 6 stuff soon. On top of that, you can check out some of my previous videos here, such as on the left, the full guide to the week 1 challenges and the streetlight locations, and then on the right, another fun video I'm sure you guys will enjoy. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.